The rain fell on the old stone steps of the college that morning, and the sky was gray and wide and quiet, and a boy with tired eyes and a torn backpack leaned against the gate, as though he had nowhere to be, and yet everywhere to go. He had left his classes a year ago. He had left his future hanging by a thread, and now he was back, not as a student, but as a man who fixed old machines in the basement for a few coins. And the sound of the campus bell still reached him and made his chest ache. She walked by, then, the dean's daughter in her white coat, her hair tied back, her head high, like she carried the whole discipline of the place inside her steps. And when she saw him standing there, dripping with rain, she paused, not because she knew him, but because something about his eyes refused to look away, and she felt the world slow. She asked if he was waiting for someone. He said, maybe for a version of himself that still believes in this place. She almost smiled, but didn't. The moment stretched and folded like the space between two breaths, and the storm grew heavier around them. He fixed the old projector in her father's office. That week she was there reading reports. She should not have cared, but she asked him why he left. He told her about how books had begun to sound like chains, about how failure became easier to hold than dreams. She listened, and something in her heart moved, because she had spent her life chasing perfection and never knew what courage it took to walk away from it. She started bringing him tea during his repairs. He started fixing things even when they were not broken, just to stay a little longer. The walls around them filled with soft silences and the hum of unspoken words. One afternoon, she dropped her pen, and when he bent to pick it up, their hands touched, and that single moment became a secret that lived in their eyes and followed them through the halls, even when others were watching. The college festival arrived with lights and music, and the air was alive with the pulse of youth. He stood near the back, by the generators, making sure the power stayed steady. She was on stage, giving a speech about integrity and learning. He watched her voice tremble just once when her gaze found him in the crowd. After the applause, she slipped behind the curtain and found him waiting, and neither of them spoke because there were no words for the pull between them. She stepped closer, and the noise of the world faded. Their hearts beat like drums made for each other, and when she kissed him, it was not a rebellion, but a surrender too. Something that had been growing since the rain that day. She whispered that her father would never forgive it. He said, maybe the world didn't need to forgive what was real. The dean found out, of course. He summoned the boy to his office, his voice cold like iron. He told him to leave and never come back, that his daughter's life was built on structure and pride, and there was no place in it for a dropout with broken dreams. She cried and begged, and he stood silent, because fighting a man like that was like shouting at a mountain that would never move. He walked out of the building as the evening burned red across the windows, and for a long time she didn't see him. Days turned to weeks, and the halls felt empty. She went through her classes like a ghost, carrying his absence like a scar. Then one night, there was a fire in the old mechanical wing. She ran toward it, without thought, and through the smoke, she saw him again, covered in soot, trying to save the machines he had once repaired. She ran to him and held him as the alarms wailed, and said that she didn't care what the world wanted. She only cared that he still looked at her the way he always did. They left the college together before the morning bell. He had no plan, and she had no permission. But both had each other, and that was enough. They walked through the sleeping city as the first light climbed over the rooftops. She said she never wanted to live in a place that measured love by grades or names. He said he would build her a world where neither rules nor fear could touch her. And in that promise, they found a kind of peace. Time passed, and the world forgot their scandal. But the old campus still whispered about the dean's daughter and the dropout who walked into the sunrise and never came back. And some said they'd built a small school by the sea where broken minds came to learn again, and hearts learned that failure was just another name for beginning. And every morning she would sit by the window and smile when she saw him still fixing things that were never broken, just to stay a little longer by her side, forever. Years passed, and the air by the coast grew softer with every season, and the house they built from driftwood and patience stood like a promise carved against the wind. Students came from distant towns, carrying nothing but doubt, and he welcomed them with the same quiet strength that once repaired broken machines. She taught them from worn books and from the rhythm of her voice that learning was not about climbing ladders, but about finding light in the dark corners of the self. They lived simply the way dawn lives simply over the sea. Each day, when the tide rolled in, she would walk to the shore and see him waiting there, hands in his pockets, the same tired eyes now full of peace, and the world they had left behind was nothing but a story whispered by gulls. She would tell him that the sea sounds like the first rain that brought them together, and he would say, maybe the rain never stopped. Maybe it just became this endless water around us. Maybe it never wanted to let us go. And when they stood there with the wind wrapping their names around the salt air, it felt as though the universe itself had exhaled and let them be.